Fatima, what's the position in terms of media reform in Egypt?
So after the uprising, media reform was a main topic of debate among journalists, with questions such as how to modernize state media, how to liberate it from the control of the government, becoming main topic of discussions between journalists. But most importantly, we witness an expansion of plurality and diversity of views and opinions in state media, which was unprecedented for the Egyptian media, including some representation of very radical dissenting voices. The political polarization under the Brotherhood rule took media as its main and favorite platform, and the fast pace of the political transition with its extraordinary events led to a situation where media reform was considered, even by journalists, as a secondary matter. Yeah.
So in many ways, the media revolution in terms of media reform didn't really happen, did it?
No, I do agree with you that media revolution finally did not happen. Calls for reform media practices and structures did not evolve into a solid structure for dissecting media problems in depth and discussing possible solutions. And the current media orchestration of a kind of blunt propaganda in praise of the military question the meaning but also the future of the media reform under the current situation in Egypt.
We were talking earlier about talk shows and the importance of talk shows in the Egyptian media. What role did they play?
Talk shows played a very important role under the Mubarak regime in educated masses, but also in allowing some representation of critical voices. They were also instrumental in providing a news output which was much more diversified and varied than the monotone news services provided by state media. After the uprising, we witnessed a deluge of talk show programs extended to new players, especially religious preachers. They played the role of political club under the political polarization within the Brotherhood rule, becoming a very influential platform, not only to attack the political adversary, but also to delegitimize this adversary to the extent of the spread of rumors, defamation, and all kind of manipulation of the information. It's important to say that these influential programs, they are by nature very personalized. The personality of the talk show host is a very important element, and the talk show host has to showcase his personality and play the role of advocate, telling people what to think, telling their audience how to understand and how to interpret the political developments around them. So asking them to abide by neutrality and impartial reporting, for them it is conceived and perceived as a denial of their raison d'etre, which is to be the advocate of the public opinion.
What has happened to the talk shows after the military coup?
After the military coup, these programs are becoming the main platform to assert the legitimacy of the military regime, to the extent of demonizing the political rivals, and not only to delegitimize them, but sometimes talking and calling to their physical extermination and eradication. And it's becoming very usual to hear calls for violence and killing on these platforms. Most importantly, they are creating environment of fears about alleged conspiracy at the Egyptian state and the Egyptian interest, leading to presenting some of the most alarming abuses against human rights as necessary measures to protect national interest and national security. And by so doing, they are nurturing a public opinion which is permissive and supportive of these abuses under the name of protecting the Egyptian state and the national security, and in the name of stability.
What happened with private media?
Under the Mubarak regime, private media were able to provide a kind of counter-narrative to the official discourse, not to the extent of challenging the main policies of the Mubarak regime. Under the Brotherhood rule, they became the spearhead of the opposition against this Islamic regime by launching a kind of fierce opposition campaigns against alleged abuses by this regime, but without really investigating these abuses. There were a kind of confusion between rumors and information, and they expressed this by a sustained fierce opposition campaigns against the regime based on information which was very difficult to really to elucidate and to make the difference between facts and rumors. Media was not really able to go in depth into these alleged abuses. We couldn't really make the difference between whether these campaigns are really based on fact or it's an expression of the extreme polarization of the political scene and the political alignment of this media. But it's very important to note here that the ownership nature of this private media limit its ability to provide this counter-narrative because of the fact that there is a solid alliance between businessmen owning this media and the regime. So yes, private media could provide a different narrative than the official one. They definitely showcased very alarming abuses, facts in the streets. They could go to the street talking to people, talking about their problems, and they were really very dynamic in trying to tell the new regime of the Muslim Brotherhood, like you cannot play the same role played by the Mubarak regime, and you cannot muzzle media as the Mubarak regime used to do. But was this plurality of views expressing a real quest by journalists to provide a kind of professional, impartial, in-depth reporting? We are not sure, especially if we will look now to the result and to how the private media under the military shifted completely their identity, becoming a new version of official media, praising the military for even its worst abuses against human rights. All this question the notion of independent media and led us to say that we cannot say today that in Egypt we have independent media. This private independent media is very much linked to the interest of the media owner. They don't have editorial committees that can act independently from the owner of the media. They don't have a definition of professional journalism. What is professional journalism for them? They don't have internal dynamics and traditions that make them immune from the intervention of the media owner and the kind of transformation of the role from a platform to provide a counter-narrative to a platform to enforce the official discourse, questions again the notion of independent media.
And the problem with the media owners is that they are doing other forms of business with the government.
Definitely, they are a solid part of the regime. They are linked to the regime by different kinds of businesses. Their interest is to protect their businesses, and most of the time these media projects are used as a tool to protect the interest, the business interest of these businessmen, and this is why we can say that this media cannot really act as independent platforms.